Did you know that over 70% of people report feeling unhappy, unfulfilled, or stuck in life? That's not just a number. It's a silent epidemic, spreading through every age, every culture, every corner of the world. Every day, millions wake up to the same hollow routine, chasing success, wealth, validation, and yet feeling emptier than ever. What if everything you've been told about happiness, about success, material gain, or even love, was a carefully crafted illusion designed to keep you spinning in circles? Most people believe happiness is something you can buy, something you earn, something you achieve. But what if the real reason you feel miserable is something almost no one talks about, because it's too uncomfortable to face? In this video, you're going to discover the shocking truth psychology and philosophy have been whispering to us for decades, a truth so profound it shatters every myth you've ever believed about what it means to be happy. More importantly, you'll learn the exact steps to break free from this invisible trap, reclaim control over your mind, and finally experience genuine meaning, connection, and lasting fulfillment. Ignore this, and you'll stay stuck in a loop of disappointment like millions already do. But if you're ready to see through the illusion and escape misery once and for all, keep watching. You've been told your whole life that happiness comes from achieving more. From the moment you learned to walk, society started whispering in your ear, work harder, study longer, get that degree, land that job, buy that car, own that house. You learned that happiness was just one promotion away, one bigger paycheck away, one luxury item away. You believed that success, the kind that looks good on paper, is the secret formula. But here's the paradox. The more you chase it, the further away it seems. Studies show that once basic needs are met, food, shelter, safety, additional wealth has a negligible impact on your long-term happiness. In fact, research by Nobel Prize-winning economist Richard Easterlin found that beyond a certain threshold, earning more doesn't make you any happier. So why do you keep running after it? Because you were conditioned to believe in an illusion. From early childhood, movies, advertisements, and even well-meaning advice told you that happiness was external, that if you could just get there, that next job, that next purchase, that next relationship, you'd finally feel complete. But think about it. How many times have you achieved something big only to feel an emptiness creeping in shortly after? That promotion, the fancy car, even a lavish vacation, these are momentary spikes of joy, not lasting fulfillment. This is not just anecdotal. Psychological studies repeatedly confirm that hedonic adaptation is real. Your brain adjusts to higher income, better status, or new possessions within months. You return to your baseline happiness level, leaving you hungrier than before. Yet the more society pushes you toward these external goals, the more you believe that failing to achieve them is your fault. You're not trying hard enough, it whispers. But that's not the truth. The fundamental flaw in this approach lies in a missing piece, a blind spot most people never examine. You're searching for happiness outside, when the real reason for your misery has been hiding in plain sight all along. What if the true source of your dissatisfaction isn't what you lack, but the way you've been conditioned to think about what you want? This distorted belief is like a mirage in the desert. The more you run toward it, the more it retreats, leaving your soul parched and your mind restless. It's time to stop chasing illusions, because the moment you realize happiness isn't something you achieve, it's something you discover within yourself, your entire perspective will shift. But before we dive into that profound truth, we need to understand what modern life has done to you and how it systematically strips away your sense of meaning, leaving you disconnected and adrift. That's where the real shock lies. The shocking reason: lack of meaning and connection. You wake up every morning scrolling through the endless noise of social media, checking your emails, grinding through work, chasing deadlines, chasing status updates, chasing what exactly? If you're honest with yourself, you might sense something missing, a whisper deep in your chest that no amount of money, applause, or achievement can silence. The truth is simple, yet so rarely acknowledged. Most people are miserable because they lack a sense of meaning and genuine connection. This isn't a vague philosophical musing. It's a conclusion backed by decades of research in psychology and philosophy. Let's start with Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who survived a Nazi concentration camp and emerged with a radical understanding of human fulfillment. In his groundbreaking book, Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl reveals a profound insight. Those who have a why can bear almost any how. Frankl observed that prisoners who could find a sense of purpose, whether it was a loved one to return to, a creative project, or a personal mission, were far more likely to survive the horror than those who simply drifted through life without meaning. Why does this matter to you today in 2025, sitting in front of a screen? Because modern life, in its relentless pursuit of speed and consumption, has trained you to seek pleasure and avoid pain. Instant gratification has become your default setting. A like, a click, a new purchase, all promise a fleeting high. But what happens after the high fades? You feel emptier than before. You start to wonder, is this all there is? Psychologists have a name for this existential emptiness: anomie, a state where life feels fragmented, disconnected, and devoid of purpose. Consider the data. A 2018 survey by the American Psychological Association found that nearly 61% of Americans reported feeling lonely or socially isolated. Loneliness is now recognized as a public health crisis linked to depression, anxiety, and even premature death. It's not just a feeling, it's a symptom of a system designed to disconnect you from what matters. Social structures that once provided meaning, community gatherings, extended family, rituals, have been replaced by virtual connections and individualism. Workplaces reward productivity, not purpose. Consumer culture tells you that more stuff equals more happiness, but none of it fills the void. Deep down, you crave something timeless and profound, a reason to wake up, a connection that transcends screens and status updates, a purpose that gives your life weight beyond the next deadline. And here lies the shocking reason for your misery. You're chasing external validation in a world that has systematically removed the internal compass of meaning. This isn't about laziness. It's not a personal failure. It's a structural illusion designed to keep you in motion without direction. What if the real answer doesn't lie in doing more, but in discovering why you do anything at all? This absence of meaning explains why the more you achieve, the more hollow you feel. It explains why the brightest moments in life often come not from success but from connection, an honest conversation, a shared laugh, a moment of profound silence. What's more terrifying is that this epidemic of meaninglessness is invisible. It doesn't announce itself with flashing lights or dramatic headlines. It creeps in slowly, a whisper in the back of your mind that you ignore because facing it feels too uncomfortable. But now that you know it exists, you can't unknow it. And once you begin to see through the illusion of external happiness, a powerful realization takes hold. The escape from misery doesn't require more achievements. It requires a radical reorientation toward meaning. But before we reveal the escape hatch, there's another critical trap you must understand. One so subtle it's nearly impossible to detect, because the more you scroll, compare, and measure your life against others, the deeper you sink. Let's explore the next layer of this psychological labyrinth, the role of comparison and social media. Have you ever scrolled through Instagram or Facebook and suddenly felt smaller, less accomplished, less happy? It's subtle at first, a lingering thought. Why didn't I go on that vacation? Why isn't my life as exciting as theirs? Why don't I have that success? What you're experiencing is no accident. It's the carefully engineered psychological trap known as social comparison, one of the most powerful forces subtly hijacking your happiness. Social media promises connection, but what it delivers is constant comparison. Every picture you see, every status update, every influencer's carefully curated highlight reel is a spotlight shining directly on what you lack. And the data confirms it. A 2017 study published in the Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology found that people who limited social media usage to just 30 minutes a day reported significant reductions in feelings of loneliness and depression. Another study revealed that over 60% of users felt worse after using social media platforms, reporting feelings of inadequacy and envy. But why does this happen? Because you're comparing your behind the scenes with everyone else's highlight reel. You see their achievements, their smiling faces, their exotic vacations, their perfect bodies, but you don't see the countless hours of struggle, failure, and self-doubt they endured to get there. It's like standing at the edge of a vast canyon, peering across at an illusion of perfection, while the ground beneath you erodes a little more each day. And the more you scroll, the deeper you fall into the belief that your life is lacking. This is not your fault. It's a structural flaw in the system designed to keep you addicted. Every like, every share, every view is a dopamine hit designed to keep you engaged, feeding the illusion that happiness is somewhere else. But here's the cruel twist. The very act of comparison guarantees dissatisfaction. Psychologists call it the upward comparison bias. You don't compare yourself to someone less successful. You always compare yourself to someone better. Why? Because evolution programmed your brain to focus on survival and status. In ancient times, spotting who had more resources, who was stronger, who belonged to the dominant tribe, was critical. Today, that ancient wiring backfires. It makes you believe you're falling behind in a race where the finish line keeps moving further away. And while social media makes this trap painfully obvious, the truth runs deeper. Even in everyday life, at work, in school, in your social circles, you're constantly measuring your worth against others. Why doesn't my project get the same praise? Why don't I have as many friends? Why am I not further along by now? Every comparison fuels the narrative that you are not enough. Yet this mindset is a prison of your own making. It blinds you to the fact that everyone's journey is unique, shaped by unseen struggles, uncelebrated failures, and silent resilience. What if the most powerful act of rebellion against this system wasn't chasing likes, but learning to disconnect? What if the way to freedom was not in comparing, but in creating your own standard of meaning? Soon you'll discover how rewiring your mind away from comparison into self-awareness can unlock unprecedented freedom. But first, there's another critical piece of the puzzle you must understand. The reason your brain is wired to focus more on negative experiences than positive ones, and how this insidious bias holds you hostage in misery. Let's unravel it. Let's unravel the mind's negativity bias. Have you ever noticed how a single criticism can overshadow dozens of compliments, or how one mistake lingers in your mind far longer than the hundreds of small successes you've achieved? That's not a quirk of your personality. It's hardwired into your brain. This is called the negativity bias, an evolutionary mechanism designed to keep you alive. Thousands of years ago, paying more attention to threats, dangers, and negative experiences wasn't just useful. It was essential. If early humans ignored a poisonous plant because they were focused on how pretty it looked, they didn't get a second chance to learn. Fast forward to today, and your brain hasn't caught up with modern life. It still amplifies negative experiences and minimizes positive ones, even when those negatives are trivial by today's standards. Think about your day. A coworker's offhand comment, a missed email, a social media post that didn't get enough likes. Your mind latches onto these negatives with a disproportionate intensity. Scientific studies confirm this. Psychologists from the University of California found that people need 5 positive interactions to counterbalance a single negative one. Why does this matter? Because if your internal narrative is constantly focused on what's wrong, what you didn't achieve, how you're failing, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You start seeing the world through a lens of disappointment and fear. Even when things go right, your brain glosses over them as normal, expected, or insufficient. This creates a dangerous illusion that happiness is always just out of reach. But here's the most profound insight of all. Negativity bias is not immutable. It doesn't have to dictate your experience of life. What if you could rewire your mind to notice the positive, to savor small victories, to anchor yourself in gratitude instead of comparison? What if you could shift your perspective, transforming your reality from a narrative of lack to one of abundance? Because the truth is, every negative thought is a choice. not a destiny. Every moment you spend ruminating on what went wrong is an opportunity to consciously refocus on what's right. This shift doesn't happen by accident. It happens by deliberate action. And when you begin to weaken the grip of negativity bias, your entire experience of life begins to change. Suddenly, you stop being a passive victim of your mind's wiring, and you start becoming its master. Soon, you'll discover the exact science-backed steps to escape this trap of misery. A practical guide to finding purpose, practicing gratitude, reducing toxic comparison, and cultivating mindfulness. Because once you understand how your mind works, and how to work with it instead of against it, freedom from misery becomes inevitable. Let's break that cycle now. How to escape misery. Practical, science-based solutions. You now understand the invisible forces at play, the illusion that happiness is external, the systemic disconnection from meaning, the toxic comparison culture, the brain's relentless negativity bias. But knowing these truths is only half the battle. The real power lies in action, because misery doesn't fade on its own. It dissipates the moment you begin to realign your mind, your habits, and your purpose. Let's start with the most transformative insight of all. A. Finding meaning and purpose. Those who have a why can bear almost any how. This is Viktor Frankl's timeless message. Purpose is not some lofty ideal reserved for philosophers or spiritual leaders. It's the secret code embedded deep within your biology, a beacon that gives your life direction, no matter how chaotic the world around you becomes. Ask yourself, what makes you get out of bed in the morning? What makes you feel alive even in your darkest moments? It doesn't have to be grand. It could be as simple as helping your children grow, creating art, mentoring someone younger, contributing to your community. Studies show that people who report having a strong sense of purpose live longer, experience less stress, and report higher overall happiness. Actionable tip. Today, take 5 minutes to write down the one thing that gives your life meaning. No fluff, no judgment, just the honest truth. Then, let that become your anchor. B. Practicing gratitude. Gratitude is not just a feel-good practice, it's a scientifically proven tool to rewire your mind. A 2003 study by Emmons and McCullough revealed that people who kept a daily gratitude journal were 25% happier than those who focused on daily hassles or neutral events. Why does it work? Because gratitude shifts your focus from what's lacking to what's abundant. Instead of thinking, I don't have enough, you begin to see, I already have so much. It rewires the brain's reward pathways. The more you consciously acknowledge what's good in your life, the more your mind scans for positivity. Actionable tip. Start a simple practice. Every morning or evening, write down 3 things you're grateful for, no matter how small. It could be a warm cup of coffee, a smile from a stranger, a roof over your head. This small habit compounds, slowly transforming your perception of life itself. C. Reducing social comparison. Comparison is the thief of joy, but escaping it doesn't mean abandoning social media altogether. It means using it with intention. Limit your social media time to 30 minutes a day. Unfollow accounts that make you feel inadequate. Follow accounts that inspire you, educate you, or uplift you. More importantly, focus on your own growth. Ask yourself, what progress have I made today, no matter how small? How did I improve, learn, or create something meaningful? Instead of measuring yourself against others, measure yourself against your own yesterday. Actionable tip. Write down one small achievement at the end of each day, no matter how minor. It might be, I finished that report. I made time for a friend. I went for a short walk. Over time, these small wins build into an unshakable sense of self-worth. D. Mindfulness and self-awareness. Mindfulness is the practice of being present, fully aware of your thoughts, feelings, and sensations without judgment. Why does it matter? Because it creates a space between stimulus and reaction. Instead of letting a negative thought spiral out of control, you observe it. Oh, there's that voice telling me I'm not good enough again. And in that observation, you reclaim control. Scientific studies confirm that mindfulness meditation significantly reduces anxiety, depression, and stress while boosting well-being and emotional resilience. Simple breathing technique. 1. Close your eyes. 2. Take a deep breath in for 4 seconds. 3. Hold for 4 seconds. 4. Exhale for 4 seconds. 5. Repeat 5 times. This simple exercise calms your nervous system and brings you back into the present moment, weakening the grip of negativity bias. Actionable tip. Start with just 5 minutes of mindful breathing every morning. Over time, extend it to 10 or 15 minutes. Each breath you take is a step away from misery and a step toward clarity. You don't need a grand revolution. You need small, deliberate actions repeated daily. Because lasting change isn't dramatic, it's incremental. It's not about finding happiness somewhere out there. It's about quietly, persistently building it from within. Soon, you'll see how these simple practices compound into a life of purpose, joy, and resilience. But before we seal your transformation with an empowering call to action, there's one more powerful insight you can't afford to miss. By now you've seen the invisible forces at work, the illusions, the traps, the biases that have kept you stuck in a cycle of disappointment. But awareness alone won't set you free. Transformation happens the moment you take deliberate action. Right now, ask yourself, what small step can I take today to reconnect with my purpose, to shift my mindset, to break free from this endless loop of misery? Because waiting for a big breakthrough won't work. Real change begins with tiny intentional choices. Let's start simple. Today, write down your purpose. It doesn't need to be some grand life mission. Maybe it's as small as, I want to be a better listener for my friends. I want to spend 15 minutes a day learning something new. I want to express gratitude for the roof over my head. Once written, place it somewhere visible. Let it be your anchor, the silent reminder of your why. Next, begin a gratitude practice. Every evening before bed, jot down 3 things you're grateful for. No need for perfection, just real, honest moments. It might feel awkward at first. Your mind will resist. That's normal. But persistence compounds. Then take control of social comparison. Pick one social media platform you use the most. Set a daily limit, 30 minutes maximum. Unfollow or mute any account that makes you feel inadequate. Instead, follow profiles that inspire, educate, or make you laugh. Finally, commit to a simple mindfulness practice. Start with just 5 mindful breaths each morning. Notice your inhale. Notice your exhale. Notice the small sensations you tend to ignore. That simple pause creates space, a space where you no longer react automatically to every negative thought. Instead, you observe, you choose. It's a radical shift, one small decision after another. And within weeks, you'll start feeling a subtle but undeniable change, a lightness where once there was heaviness, a clarity where once there was confusion, a growing sense of purpose where once there was emptiness. The process isn't instant, it's not dramatic. It doesn't require overnight transformation or huge sacrifices. It requires consistency, because happiness isn't a destination you reach after acquiring wealth, status, or external validation. It's the byproduct of meaning, self-awareness, gratitude, and intentional living. Ask yourself, what small action will I take today that my future self will thank me for? Write it down. Do it now. Because every great journey begins with a single step. Take that step. The life you've been searching for doesn't exist in another place. It exists in the choices you make today. You've just uncovered truths most people never dare to face. That happiness isn't about chasing more money, accumulating possessions, or trying to outshine others. It's not about endlessly scrolling through other people's lives, measuring yourself against impossible standards. It's about something far deeper, far more profound. It's about finding purpose in your own story. It's about practicing gratitude for the small things that often go unnoticed. It's about learning to quiet the mind's constant noise and embracing the present moment. The truth is simple, yet revolutionary. Happiness is not a destination. It's not a trophy to be won or a certificate to be displayed. Happiness is a journey of meaning. It's the way you begin each day with intention, The choice to see light even in darkness, the decision to grow despite fear. Imagine waking up tomorrow, feeling lighter, knowing that even when things don't go as planned, you have an anchor, a purpose, a reason to keep moving forward. Because when you stop chasing illusions and start cultivating what matters, you don't just survive, you thrive. You don't just exist, you live. The most powerful transformation doesn't happen in an instant. It happens one small decision at a time. Today you've made the choice to see through the illusion. Today you've taken the first step toward genuine meaning, and that is the most courageous thing you will ever do. Your journey begins now. Bonus tip: the power of reducing media consumption. Here's a bonus insight few people talk about, yet it could be the single most powerful lever in your hands right now. Reducing media consumption doesn't just free up your time, it clears your mind. Consider this. On average, a person spends over 2.5 hours per day scrolling through social media, watching videos, or consuming news. What if you reclaimed even half of that time? Scientific research shows that cutting back on passive media consumption leads to lower levels of anxiety, improved focus, greater self-awareness, increased satisfaction with life. When you step away from the endless stream of content designed to grab your attention, you create space. Space to think, space to reflect, space to connect with what truly matters. Actionable tip: start by implementing a digital Sabbath. Choose one day a week or even one evening a day where you completely disconnect from social media, news, and mindless video consumption. Use that time instead to read a book, take a walk, journal your thoughts, have a real conversation. The first few times it will feel strange. Your mind will urge you to check your phone, but persist, because every moment you spend disconnected from the noise is a moment you reconnect with yourself. Imagine a life where your self-worth isn't dictated by likes, comments, or viral trends, but by your own quiet, deliberate values. That's the ultimate power. Your choice. It starts now.